And welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf. Welcome to episode 359. We've got a treat for you guys today. We've got our multi-unit leader of the year from 2025, freshly promoted regional manager, Dana Mallory. Let's go.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Dana, welcome to the pod.
Hi, Charlie. Thank you. Excited to be here.
I'm excited to have this conversation with you. Big year last year.
We did have a big year. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, really big year. You won the Multi-Unit Leader of the Year award. And what a lot of people may not realize is you wrote your acceptance speech for that award like at the gala the previous year, right?
I did. Yeah, the day after, actually.
Tell us about that.
Well, I appreciate being called out for it and the award being called my award, but it really never felt like a personal win for me. For me, it was more of a team win, and it had been like that for the couple of years prior to every time we went to the gala. And each year, the South got a little bit better, and my team is just really all invested in what we do in the South. And so when we had a great year in 2025, and then at the gala, Chris Wright in the West won it again, and deservedly so. They had a phenomenal year, and but my whole team was bummed, and everybody just really kind of rallied around it and said, "We're going to get it next year," and just create a lot of momentum for us. And so I sat after that gala, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to try and manifest something here for myself and for my team, and think about, in order to get to region of the year, regional of the year, whatever we're going to call it, I have to have some really intentional things that we do this year, and to think through what those things are and what they look like, and just kind of visualize the whole thing for me. So I did. So I sat down and imagined that it was the end of the year already, and all the things that we were going to accomplish and how we were going to get there, and what I would say if we won. And so that's what I did. And so I sealed it up, and it was handwritten, which I don't ever do. I'm very, very much I have terrible handwriting, so I always type my stuff. But this time I sat down with a pen and a piece of paper and actually wrote it out, and then put it in an envelope. And I have a clear protector on the front of my laptop, and I put it in there with my word of the year written on the front, and so that it reminded me every single day of what it is that we were going after, and how important it was, not just to me, but to my entire team. So
I love that. What was your word of the year last year?
Ubuntu.
Ubuntu.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. I remember that. Okay, we're going to get into the Ubuntu, and we're going to get into a lot of what you just said here. You said you had a great year in 2025. You meant 2024.
I did.
Yeah.
Yes,
it was at the 2025 gala in January. Well, the 2024 gala in January of 25, when you had that manifestation. And, the interesting phrase that comes to my mind hearing you say that is a John Maxwell quote. And he says, as leaders, we have to see more than others see, and we have to see before others see. And so you had to see it first so that you could then see it in reality. Yeah. And you guys had a great year. Okay, let's take a step back, let the audience get to know you a little bit, because I feel like they just did. Dana Mallory, you joined us when?
So it was 3 years ago in January. Whatever year that was.
So January of 23.
Yep.
Okay, January of 23. Beginning of January?
Yep, first day of the new fiscal year.
Okay, awesome. And you joined as a district manager.
Correct. Yep.
For the South region.
Yep.
At that time, we had how many stores in the South region?
We had 4. We had the Columbia stores and Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
And then we opened Aiken, South Carolina.
Okay.
The next edition.
Yep. So grew Aiken, so grew the 5th store, and kind of you were getting your sea legs under you a little bit the first year, kind of figuring out this whole Broad River thing, improved upon it the next year, then got that little hunger, that little desire and pit in your belly, say, hey, that's not who we are, we're going to go for it. And then last year had really a record year and really kind of reignited, reinvented, reimagined the entire South. Matter of fact, there's a joke that I didn't even know about that you said in your speech that said, we were no longer going to be called the Savage South, and we were going to be the Savage South, right? Talk about that.
So one of the things that I really loved about coming to Broad River is, the purpose begins with identity, and the fact that we all have these things that we identify with. And I knew that I had the option to change the name, and then I think it was Carl that actually said it to me, and he kind of just said it in passing as a joke about us having been called the Savage South, and it really just kind of struck me, and I thought, what, like, that feels terrible. And so I thought, you know what, we're not going to change the name. We are going to become the Savage South, and let everybody know it, and we're going to wear that name proudly, and so we did. It was almost like a, you know, that little chip on your shoulder rallying cry kind of thing. And I would remind my team, people, we used to be called the Savage South. Look how far we've come. So yeah, that's where that came from.
I love it. I love it. Okay, give us one little bit on Ubuntu, why that was your word of the year. I don't know if that was yours or your team's word. When our word of the year was pioneer, you came with Ubuntu, which is a great word. I saw it in Doc Rivers, the playbook or the documentary they did several years back, and we had some GMs who really kind of gravitated towards it. Tell our audience what you mean by Ubuntu.
So it's an African philosophy, and it basically means I am me because of you, essentially. And each year since I started, each of my managers picks a word of the year for themselves. And at our first GM RX of the year, we make these bracelets. I hand stamp their word of the year into the bracelet, and we wear them all year as a reminder of what's important to us. And so that happened to be mine, and I wore it proudly on my wrist, and just to remind me that, you know, we don't ever go anywhere in this life alone. The journey is with the people that you surround yourself with, and it's a collective effort and a collective reward. And if you're trying to go it alone, you're not going to get very far, especially in this business.
Yeah.
And so I have an incredible group of people that are great collaborators and just have a great team spirit. And so it was my reminder all year long of what I was working towards and what was important to me.
I love that one. There's another African proverb that I really like that it goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. Yeah. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
Now you said you stamp their word onto these bracelets. You do a lot of things that you make. You made the Pioneering the Path vision board, I believe, right? You were the vision behind that we unveiled in July, that Pioneer Promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the puzzle pieces that all had to get put back together, which was really cool. I've got this little prop right here that is also something that you made and gave out as gifts. And so this is a furnishing. Well, why don't you tell us what this is?
It's a Life's Best Memories jar. So it's such a true important statement to say that we furnish life's best memories, because we do, not only for our guests, but internally for all of our memory makers as well. And so to be able to capture life's best moments on a small piece of paper, on a note card, and drop them in your life's best memories jar, and then at the end of the year to be able to go back and kind of see your year in review, or keep it for however long you want to keep it. But I'm a very live in the moment kind of person, and so I have to be intentional to go back and remember and think about all the places I've been and the things I've done and all the great things that have happened. And for me, that's a great way to do that. So
and these things were packaged, like look at how you did that. Grab the jar, grab a pen, write down your best moments and drop them in. As the year begins to near the end, open them up and read them again. So great little messages there. And then wishing you a 2025 filled with life's best memories, and a great little reminder there. So this was just an awesome another one of the things that you kind of created throughout the year. I thought it'd be great to bring it for your episode. So you do a lot of these little creations and nice extra touches that are just accoutrements, if you will.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that we're into the episode a little bit, let's go back to understand about you and how long you've been in retail and what was your life like before Broad River Retail. So tell us about your life, your family, personal, professional, to the extent that you want to kind of share, or broad brushstrokes, however you want to share it.
Yeah, always been in retail. Wasn't my original plan. I wanted to be an attorney, Supreme Court justice someday, things to change the world. And then got into retail the way everybody gets into retail. It's, you have no skills really and no experience. And so you start, at a young age working in retail and doing what you do. And what I found is that I really had a passion for it and grew to love it. And I love that, you never have the same day twice. I love the people part of it is really what keeps me in it. I've done a lot of different kinds of retail, so not necessarily one industry. I worked in apparel, I worked in cosmetics, I worked for a company that did motivational products. I worked for a company that did eyeglasses. I worked for Blockbuster Video. So a lot of different things. But at the end of the day, it really, for me, is always about the people and how we can impact people's lives in positive ways and make a difference in the world. And I remember when my daughter was young, she had a project for school she had to do, and she had to pick somebody that inspired her and have a conversation with them and interview them. And so, my daughter, she's in middle school, and we sit down at the dining room table, and she's got her pen and her pad of paper, and she's very serious. And she says, "Okay," she starts interviewing me and says, "Mom, what do you do for a living?" And I said, "I change people's lives." And she looked at me and she picked up her pen and her pad of paper and was like getting up to leave the room. And I said, "Kate, what are you doing? What's going on?" And she said, "If you are not going to take this seriously, Mom, I am not going to do this with you. You do not change lives. You are not a Kardashian." And I thought to myself in that moment, where have I gone wrong as a parent? That is what my daughter thinks changes the world is, reality TV. But we ended up having a long conversation that day just about you don't have to fit into a box to have impact on the world and to change people's lives. You can do that no matter what your career is, no matter where you live. You do it. It happens every single day in the little things you do, in the way that you consider people and think about people, and just kind of how you engage with the world. And so, for me, it's always been just about the people.
Yeah, and one life at a time, right?
Yeah,
Reminds me
100%.
of the starfish, right? The guy's throwing things back into the ocean. What are you doing? Throwing them back into the ocean. That doesn't make a difference. And he picks up the next one. Made
Did
a
to that
difference.
one.
Made a difference to that one.
Yep.
I bet your daughter would say that you're one of her biggest mentors right now. Is that true?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Okay, so, and you're originally from Oklahoma?
I am. Yeah, grew up in a very small town in Oklahoma.
And then you kind of made your way to, I think, Pittsburgh or the Northeast?
Yep, traveled a lot early in my career. It was an adventure. Any place the company wanted me to go, I was packing my bags and I was there, and I loved it. And then I had kids, and when my youngest started kindergarten, kind of needed to settle down and not travel so much. I didn't want them to keep changing schools and whatnot. So Pennsylvania is where it was for us. I was recruited by Blockbuster Video, and they built a region in central Pennsylvania for me. So I had 100 stores from the Maryland border to the New York border throughout Pennsylvania, and it's kind of just where we settled while my kids went to school. And
I think I had forgotten you were with Blockbuster. But when you said, because I think I was just still thinking about when you said people get into retail because they don't have any skills. I'm like, that's probably how I got in here. I think that is how I got into retail. Got recruited in. Jack of all trades, master of none.
That's right.
But okay, so then how did you get into home furnishings?
Bob's Discount Furniture was coming to Central PA, and my daughter, who is my youngest, had started kindergarten, and I had taken some time away from multi-unit because I missed out on a lot with my boys. When I was traveling all the time, I was in executive level leadership and spent a lot of time on the roads, read too many bedtime stories from a hotel room over the telephone, and I didn't want to miss out on that with my daughter. And so I had taken a step back. I owned a business that I ran from home for a while, and then went back to single store management so that I could get back into retail but didn't have to travel and do overnights. And then when it got to a point that, my kids were getting older and I was ready to get back into multi-unit. So I'd sent my resume to Bob's. They were looking for a regional manager for the Philadelphia market, actually. And I didn't want to relocate because my kids were still in school, but that was commutable for me. And so I sent them my resume, and they ended up promoting somebody internally, and I didn't really hear back from them. And a month or so went by, and I got a phone call, and their recruiter said, "Look, I know this isn't what you applied for, but we're coming to the market, and we think you're a great fit for us culturally, but we don't typically hire from the outside for GM positions. We don't bring people in from the outside to run stores, but nobody wants to move to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. so here we are." And so interviewed with them, several people, and fell in love with the culture there and everything that was going on. I ended up opening the 63rd store, I think, for them, and they've more than doubled their store count by now. But yeah, so that's how I started in furniture, and I thought this is going to be a piece of cake. It's a single store. I've run 100 stores, no problem. And then I think I'd been with the company about 6 weeks, and the store was running ahead of schedule and getting built. And so we started and we opened, and I very quickly realized I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. That furniture was an entirely different animal. Commission sales was something completely different than what I had managed before. So it was really going back to school for me and kind of relearning and figuring out how do I take the skills that I have and the experience that I have and adapt that to fit what we're doing here. So I did, and had a great, I think, 7 years or so with Bob's. Loved every minute of being there, and it was a great opportunity for me, and a great way to learn about this industry.
And you were there. You were a single store GM, and then when did you go to multi-unit?
So I never officially went to multi-unit. I still wasn't relocatable, but I did a lot of things outside of my own store. Okay. So on committees to help.
You still do that?
I do. I do. I like the discretionary effort part of my job. So it's always important to me to find. I feel the most at home when I am in a company that allows you to do that, because not all companies do, and I think that's one of the things that makes us special at Broad River is that we really encourage and we want people to grow and stretch outside of what their day-to-day responsibilities are, and you get to have a bigger impact. So I appreciate that about us.
It's an entrepreneurial kind of mindset. Okay, well then how did you go from there to the Carolinas and to Broad River Retail?
Yeah, so I've always loved South Carolina. Vacation there with my kids every year. Seabrook, actually where we like to go, and so when my daughter was 19 and ready to get out on her own. And I'd always said that when my kids were grown and gone, I was going to move south to warmer weather. So it was time. And Broad River, I followed you guys on LinkedIn for years and loved what I saw about the company. And you posted that there was an opportunity available in Columbia. And so I thought, you know what? Now, why not? Like now's a great time. And it was winter in Pennsylvania. And the older I get, the less tolerant of the cold I am.
Me too.
I sent in my resume, and I knew somebody that worked here that I used to work with, and reached out to that person and said, is Broad River really as good as it seems? Because I'm thinking about, applying. And they said, yeah, it's fantastic. You'd be great here. And so sent in my resume, and the rest is history. Sold my house and sold my snowblower, which was probably even more exciting than selling my house. And, here I am.
Okay. Thanks for taking me through that, taking our audience to that. Now, your first year, you get here, and what are you thinking? Like, because you didn't automatically have amazing results.
Right.
And if I'm being fair in saying this, there were some struggles in the first year. And what were those struggles, and kind of what was going through your mindset during that? Was it like, I'm going to figure this out, or this sucks? I'm about to, I'm at my last, I don't know how close you got to the edge, or if you were just like, I'm going to figure it out. I just I got to understand it better, or I got to trust it better. So what was going through your head that first year?
So it was really exciting when I first got here. I remember sitting down with Carl in an office here, and him taking me through kind of the model, Mr. Mo, and all the things that we do here.
Let me do this. Yeah. Mr. Mo, as we've done on this episode. More right, more often.
That's right.
I just like to unpack the acronyms as we go.
Absolutely. We have lots of those here too, by the way.
Yes, we do.
Every new job, that's the hardest part of it, is figuring out what all the new acronyms are. But we sat down, we had a conversation about Mr. Mo, and he kind of took me through the vision and how we do things, and it instantly made sense to me. I was like, this is fantastic. And I knew that I would have things to learn here, and that it was different than the way I had ever run a business before. And so initially, that was my mindset going in, was I need to learn. I need to learn a lot. I need to observe. I need to see how other people are doing it. I need to figure out how do I take those things and incorporate it into the way that I lead others, and in a way that has impact. And so started, and we had some opportunity in the South for sure. Mm-hmm. And so getting to know my people and learning not just about the company, but how do we do business and how do we transact? And even though you come from furniture, it's not all the same, mm-hmm. right? And the way that we do furniture at Broad River is very different than I think anybody else does, in a good way. And
say more.
So we talk about P2I, or being in a position to impact, and the importance of that for a GM to be engaged on the floor and engaged with the team, and to have the ability to really go in and help people close sales, and just be in a position to create impact. And so I think a lot of companies talk about floor presence and managers being present on the floor, and we were very good at that where I came from. And I would have told you that I was fantastic at it. I could have told you at any moment in time, I knew exactly where somebody was in a conversation with a guest, and like I knew what was happening on the floor. But our level of engagement at Broad River and our interaction with the HFC in the moment and having impact in the moment, I think a lot of companies maybe observe what's going on. It was certainly kind of what my leadership style was. I would pay attention, and I would notice how an HFC engaged with the guest. And if it didn't result in a sale, then we'd have a conversation after and coach through it and whatever. But at that point, the opportunity's gone, right? It's out the door, and chances are you're not going to get another opportunity to see that guest. And so what I love about us is that we don't. That's not our approach. We're much more engaged and having impact in the moment. And I can see, you can very clearly see the impact that has on the business and our ability to maximize the traffic that we have, and take advantage of the opportunity in the moment. And so that was very, very different for me. And so learning that and learning the importance of it and seeing the impact of it, I really wanted to study that and figure out, again, how do authenticity is important to me. And I think it's all leaders, like, we lead better when we can do it as ourselves. And so figuring out, how do I take these things that other people around me do so well and do it in a way that is true to who I am, and not try to emulate what this person or that person is doing. And so for me, that's a lot of studying and paying attention and, intentional effort around that. And so, I started my quest of learning about my people and the market and just the business in general. And then ended up having to make some people changes, and brought in some new GMs and some transfers, and did some other things, and really just got to know my people and to start developing a culture, and having to decide what do we want to be known for. And that's not a decision for me to make. That's a decision that we collectively as a leadership team had to make, because the only way you get buy-in at that level is to make everybody part of that. Like, they all have to be part of the solution. It's not just a me thing.
And how would you characterize what you guys want to be known for? What did y'all decide?
Excellence. We want to be the people that are doing it outside the box, finding new ways, not waiting for somebody to say, hey, go get it, and this is how you go get it, but actually figuring out what's a new way, what's a different way, living outside the box and being innovative. And it's one of my favorite core values for us, is figuring out how do you take something that people have been doing really well for a long time and take it up a notch. Because I'm also super competitive, so I like to win. I am, and I try to be low key about it, but I like to win, and I like to be the best at things. And so we always want to be the best.
Well, you had seen 2 years in a row of the West region having all the success, and Chris Wright won multi-unit of the year, I believe, 2 years in a row.
He did, yeah.
And so that had to kind of burn a little bit. But when did you, for that competitive nature, but when did you start to feel it turn? Like, when did you start to say, you know what, I think, because 23 and 24 in our industry were a little bit of a struggle years. I don't remember exactly when Aiken opened. You probably recall that better than I do. Was it 23 or 24?
It was 24.
Okay, so we had added a new store, and so then Jason Sessoms had moved from Augusta to Aiken to take on that store. We brought on in Alexis. You had Troy, then Walker going into Columbia. That store was going through a remodel, or would soon go through a remodel, and kind of et cetera, et cetera. But when did you start to feel like, hey, I think we're starting to get some momentum and build some habits and disciplines that are going to really kind of pay off down the road?
I'll be honest, it took a while. So I think I would say that after my first year, I think for my first full year here, it was a struggle. And while I knew that I was making progress, and I knew that what I was building was the right thing that would sustain us, those things don't always show up in the numbers right away. And so as a results-driven person, it's frustrating when you have to keep reminding yourself, stay the course, stay the course, stay the course. And I'm a big proponent of, you don't even though it may not show up in the ways that you want it to, or in the way that you hope it will, if you truly believe that what you're doing is the right thing to do for the business and for your people, you have to be strong enough to stay committed to that and ride it out. And so that's what I was doing. And I'll be honest, we got to like November and I started to get a little nervous. I was like, we are not getting the traction as quickly as I wanted it to happen.
November of 23 or 24 or 25?
Of 23.
Okay.
My first year,
yeah,
right?
Your first year.
Yeah. And I told myself, you asked earlier, you said, I got off, had a bit of a tough year, and did I get to a point where I was ready to throw in the towel or whatever? And it was never that. So I'm also not a quitter. Like I literally will go down with the ship. I'm that kind of stubborn. But and it's a challenge. It was a challenge for me, and I loved everything that Broad River was about so much, and I felt like I really had found my home culturally, and so it wasn't an option for me to have it not work. Yeah, I needed to make it work, and so the biggest adjustment I think when you're new to any organization is the people part of it, and so learning, Carl and I finding our groove and our relationship and building that, and we had some challenges there that it took a while for us to get to know each other and him to understand my leadership style and for me to understand his and us to get to a good place, which we are now. We have an amazing relationship, very supportive of one another, and really realized that we do well together. The areas that I have opportunity are completely opposite of his, and so together, we do great things. But we got to around December that year, and I was just super frustrated. And I thought, I feel like the plan was the right plan. I know the people are the right people. I had great people in position at that point, and it just wasn't happening. And I was very, very in my head about it. And then realized over that Christmas that I was probably the problem. That it was because I was in my head. It was 100% how I felt and the energy that I was carrying with me every single day. And so I really had to get right with myself and what was going on in my head and decide that, I needed to have a different energy when I showed up every day and a different intentionality. And so went back to having fun and enjoying the ride and being present for that instead of worrying about all of these other things that were happening in my head. So.
Yeah. That's the gradually, then suddenly. And when you're in the gradually, you know it, and you know it's going to take time, but that's where it's testing your patience and your mettle. But it sounds like you really had to change your mindset first, and your people had to see that authentic mindset shift before they could lock in and buy in. Because the South region had struggled on some of the KPIs for a long time with really consistency.
Yeah.
The ups and downs, and really, when you're at excellence, when it's just those KPIs are consistent for months on months on months on end, and it's not a super high low. Because the high low tells you, gosh, we can do it, but then there's that big fall off. But it sounds like your mindset went first, and then once you internalize that, your folks followed you. I'm going to ask you something that might be a little bit personal, but I know you're a transparent person. And under the framework of we all have opportunities, it takes a lot of courage and self-awareness to acknowledge what they are. And you said, yours and Carl's strengths and opportunities are different. Yeah. What would be some of your opportunities that you are still trying to improve upon as someone who's has a quest and thirst for learning and for self-improvement?
Yeah, I think a lot of it for me is the being open to the possibility that two things can be right at the same time. They can coexist. There isn't one right answer for anything. So I think for me, I'm the kind of person that I feel like when I know something or something that I believe to be true, that I go full force towards that thing. I run towards it, and that's my thing. And so for me, being able to slow down and to say, okay, well, and to question myself, right? Well, what if that's not true? What if I didn't understand it the way I thought I understood it? What if there's a perspective that I'm missing? What if there's more information that I need to really, am so used to and have always operated from a place of certainty.
Yeah.
And I think leadership today and management today is very different than what it was when I started my career. And I'm really excited about that. I remember when I first started, some of the coaching and the things that I was taught by people about, show up each day, and it's like putting on a show, and it was about be somebody different, and stereotypes around what good leadership looked like, and you had to be strong and direct, and rule with an iron fist, and all of that. And it was also challenging for me as a woman early in my career. I worked in some male-dominated industries, and it was just what it was for the business. And so for me to not feel like I had to be like them was difficult for me. And so I was never really leading as myself. I was doing what I saw people around me doing, and that wasn't an authentic version of myself. And so I struggled with that. And so I developed this sense of I've got to be strong and direct, and you can't let anybody think that you don't have all the answers, right? And that isn't true. And it's such a contradiction, and it's so anti true leadership. Like the greatest leaders I've ever known have been people that have been willing to step back and say, maybe I didn't get this right. Maybe this was my fault, my mistake, my lack of
or
whatever.
To what you were saying earlier, maybe you said two things can be true at the same time. Maybe there's two ways to go about it. And my way, our way, doesn't have to be the right way. Maybe there's a different way. Maybe I can understand how they were approaching it. Another phrase I like is strong beliefs loosely held.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to ask the next question. Okay, maybe I didn't think about it that way. Because we're all in this process of learning and figuring out what the truth is, and everyone's got an opinion.
That's
They're
right.
like elbows, right?
That's right. One of my favorite books is Think Again by Adam Grant, and I learned so much. I love him. I think he's amazing. But I learned so much in reading that book about myself and all the places that I could see myself in that book. And he talks about your greatest strength isn't in what you have the capacity to learn, but what you can unlearn and then relearn. And so for me, I've really taken a lot from that and thought I need to adopt that, and I need to get better at unlearning and questioning myself and saying, well, Dana, what if what you believe isn't true? Or what if there is some other truth, like you said? And that's been an opportunity for me, but something that I feel like I've really grown a lot in the last couple of years.
Well, and that's what I was hearing when you were saying, when you were being vulnerable and speaking about your opportunities, was you were also kind of rewiring and retraining some of your other beliefs that had been long held, and that takes a lot of reprogramming and rewiring, and to the vulnerability and also the courage to kind of step into that. But it has produced a lot of fruit for what we've seen. So let's talk about. I want to give you a chance to talk about your team. I know your leadership team in the South. So let's just riff on that for a second.
I have amazing leaders, not just my GMs, but sales managers. They're just phenomenal human beings. They're fun, they're competitive, they care very much about winning, but they also care about seeing each other win, and we're all on a mission to accomplish the same thing. And it's such a privilege to be able to go to work every day and to love what you do and to love the people that you get to do it with. And it's a privilege for me to have the group of leaders that I have. I've got a couple of new leaders, which I'm really excited about. So I've got Jason Bogus, who's the just recently promoted GM. He really enjoyed his conversation with you and Manny, but
East Columbia Elite.
And
just won Grogu for April, right?
Yeah. But as we're recording this podcast, he doesn't know that yet.
This isn't live, so it will have been announced by the time this thing publishes.
That's exactly right.
If you didn't know that, sorry if I just let that out of the bag.
I did from the math.
Okay.
But super exciting. Great young leader. Been with us for, I guess, about a year now, maybe a little less, but just phenomenal for the culture there. Great personality. Just has a great way about him, a great way of leading. And
coachable, too.
Extremely coachable, and very smart, right? He takes information and he does something with it, and just humility, no arrogance, none of that. So he's been phenomenal for the culture there, and he's been doing great things for the business, and they had a phenomenal month, and so I'm really excited about having him on the team. And then we have Ernesto, who's also a newer leader for me in Northeast Columbia, and he has been a phenomenal addition to our team. Fits in seamlessly with our culture and just our personalities, and is really incredible at what he does. And we like to say rising tides lift all boats, and he's definitely one of the people that does that for us. So instantly came in and had ideas and things that impacted the business in a positive way that everybody else was able to adopt and take some portion of and make it their own, and then go and do something with that.
And he's in Northeast Columbia.
Northeast Columbia.
Started
NEC.
in December as an AGM, I think, in Columbia.
Yep.
And took over the box at NEC 1st of January, first
Yep.
of the year. He's our sales savant. He's doing a great job.
That's right.
Great hire.
Instant impact. Yeah. And we interviewed forever. I think we had a 2 or 3 hour long conversation, and I can always tell I'm a gut interviewer, but when I can sit across from somebody and have a conversation about people or the business or whatever, and leave those conversations with me feeling excited and energized and like I need to go out and I need to do more, and it expands the possibilities in my mind of what's possible. That was the interview. That was the conversation I had with Ernesto when I interviewed him.
Well, if he's going to sit with you for 2 or 3 hours, by hour 3, it's hard for him to fake it, right? Like,
exactly.
So, all right. So Ernesto, Jason Bogus.
Yep. And then my other Columbia store, Columbia Harbison, is Troy Walker.
Future flagship.
Future flagship.
You don't have to get ready if you
stay ready.
Stay ready.
That's right. Troy has been an incredible partner to me. When I started, he was co-GM in Augusta and pretty new to the company too. I think he came on board a couple months before I did, but has really been a tremendous support and is very much the heart of what we do in the South. He's competitive and
he likes to talk smack.
He does. Likes to talk a lot of trash.
We should acknowledge freshly promoted to senior GM.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm very excited for him and for that, and much deserved. He does a lot of things behind the scenes that really help drive performance and culture in the South, and he's taught me a lot. What I can tell you about Troy is that I respect him so much because there are very few people that I could say have never let me down. And he is one of those people that when he makes a commitment to you and he says he's going to do something, he has never not done exactly what he said he was going to do.
That's
exactly what he said he was going to do.
Dependability is huge.
It is. It's
Especially
huge for me.
Especially in this day and age.
That's what trust is built on.
One of the things that they really do well at Harbison is they want to make sure like they're going to stay till everyone crosses the line.
Yeah.
And they work really hard to get kind of everyone either to expert status or $1 million memory maker status, and not just the sales staff. Angels out there cheering them on too, and they've got a great team.
They do,
and they're crushing it right now.
Yeah, they are phenomenal.
Okay. All right.
Yep. And then we have Aiken, Jason Sessoms. So Jason was the GM in Augusta when I got here. Jason is one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet in your life, and will also do anything for anybody. And has really done a great job with the team there at Aiken of bringing some new people on board from the outside. And, we had some $1 million memory maker that had transferred to another location. So trying to find that, growing his people, he's phenomenal at that. He's very much a people person and just bleeds Broad River through and through, loves it here. So he's been running our Aiken store. And then Alexis, who runs the Augusta location now, who came on board, she used to work for AFI and has been tremendous in that store and brings a ton of personality and energy to our team. And she's the silly one that's always causing a ruckus somewhere.
They've got vulture culture.
They got vulture culture, yeah.
And they're usually competing with Columbia for and now Ernesto and NEC. They're all hitting all the KPIs. Okay, thanks for taking us through the team. And now let's just try to do some rapid fire, broad brush strokes on you'll go. Why do you go support other stores? Like you'll go to like Rock Hill's grand opening weekend and run the Take a Chance wall. Why do you kind of help out beyond your stores?
Because I think we should always do what we hope others would do for us in those moments. I also learn a lot when I do that.
Okay.
The more time I spend with other people outside, I don't care who it is. I learn from everybody all the time.
Okay.
And I'm infinitely curious, so I want to see how other people are doing things and what's working for them and what's making them successful, and just like to be part of that.
So it's not purely altruistic?
It's not. I wish I could say it was,
you're
but
stealing
it's
some
not.
ideas. Maybe you're okay. I got you.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Then you also come to Retail 101 and you teach a part of the session at Retail 101. What class do you teach at Retail 101?
I teach prospecting and next gen.
Okay. And how long have you been doing that for?
I think I started it probably 3 or 4 months after I got here. It was kind of by accident, but
You just raised your hand and said, I'll do it, or someone asked you to?
something like that. The person that worked here that was teaching what we called CXM at the time, or Next Gen, left the company, and then we realized, who are we gonna have to teach this? And I don't know. I'm always a self-taught person in that way. I spend a lot of time, just doing things. For me to learn, I have to go and do something. And so, playing with the system and figuring out what it could do. And so I had a lot of knowledge about it because I wanted to teach myself when I first got here. And so somebody had asked me if I'd be willing to teach the next class that was coming up because we didn't have anybody else. And so I said, sure. And I did. And it just kind of stuck. And, but it's such a privilege. And when I tell you that I love teaching those classes, for me to get to spend time with every single new memory maker that comes on board and that ends up working in one of our stores, we have people in those classes that just work for us here at the corporate office too. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to spend time with those folks and to have just a little bit of impact on what their start with us feels like and potentially what their trajectory ends up being is a tremendous privilege. And I love getting to do that.
How did you gain that perspective and not the perspective of feeling burdened by it's taking you away from your region, your stores, or your day-to-day job? Because there's no monetary benefit for coming to teach a class once a month, right?
Right. No.
I mean, and it is taking your time and attention away from driving results, but it hasn't impacted your results in a negative way.
Right. I think that having a servant leadership heart and realizing that, again, none of us get here on our own. There's been somebody along the way that has put themselves out there for us or given more of themselves to us than what they needed to or should have had to, or just people that have showed up for us. And so I think showing up for other people is important. And I know what it feels like to be new in a company, in an organization. And I try to remind myself of what it was like early in my career and how that felt. And I also recognize that for us as an organization, our ability to change people's lives through the opportunities that we give them and the opportunities to not just make a lot of money, which we do. We do. You've done an incredible job of building that comp plan that really pays for performance.
It's a nice comp plan.
It is phenomenal. So
it's mutually prosperous.
Yes.
That's the goal.
Yes.
Spirit of abundance.
Which is a concept that not any company I'd ever worked for had. And so that has impacted me too. And so I look through that lens when I'm doing things as well. And I guess it's partly that for me too. I have a great group of leaders who work really hard and do a great job and don't need me there to, micromanage them every step of the way. I truly believe in hiring great people that are smarter than you, better than you, know more than you, and putting them in a position and then giving them the expectations and the structure and the guidelines and then letting them go and be themselves and do their thing. I don't need anybody to fit into a box that looks like me, or I don't need them to do things the way that I would do things. I need them to go and be great as themselves. And when you have that level of trust, it goes both ways. And so I trust that they're all doing the right things, whether I'm standing in one of their stores or not. So
I feel like I want to come be a GM in the South region.
We take you for sure. We take you.
I can sell some. I'll sling some sofas. I'll go compete with Troy and talk some smack with them. It'll be fun. I want to keep going though.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I want to ask you about how you came to have this passion for prospecting and how that dovetailed into Podium. You taught a session at the VIP Summit on Podium, right?
Yep.
And then you went to do the site visit to another licensee to kind of study how they were using Podium. And you kind of became this Podium champion for us. And in that, I remember some of those conversations at the SRL, like how do we measure it? How do we make sure that someone do it? And so I think maybe part of it is you wanted to make sure that the numbers and the reports were right and accurate and believable and verifiable. But other than that, talk about just this champion of Podium, CXM, prospecting, and how you think it impacts the business.
Yeah, so I've always been passionate about prospecting. I think that when you broaden your view and look through a different lens, there's so much potential for business out there that we're just not tapped into. So prospecting from that perspective, in terms of going out and finding business in other places it's not walking through the door, is something that I love figuring out. It's like I love doing anything that's like a puzzle, anything that requires you
hence the Pioneer Promise puzzle.
Yeah, well, what a happy coincidence that ended up being.
Yeah.
And I did have a partner in that, by the way. So, Bradley.
Shout out to Bradley.
Bradley certainly
we gotta give
helped
him
in that concept. We were having lunch.
Got you.
We were having lunch somewhere when that phone call came in that said, we need something for this meeting we're having in a day or two. And so he was definitely instrumental in that. But
let me do this. 2025 GM of the Year and North American Store of the Year. They're giving us proper credit.
There you go. He'll appreciate that.
Aces. Fabulous. You're fabulous, Albemarle Aces. And he's freshly promoted too to Carry Crushers. Okay. Putting puzzles together, prospecting.
Yeah, it's just something that I enjoy doing. But in addition to that, when you look at conversion rate, and I know sometimes I think we have this perception that you hang a sign on a door with a name that's recognizable and customers will just show up. And I know that is not true. We spend a lot of money on advertising and we do a lot of intentional things to drive guests into our store. And so, to only have 22, 23, 25% of those guests buy from us, like there's so much opportunity there. And so a lot of times people will say, well, we need more guests or we need more traffic or, go outside and find it or whatever. And I say to myself, how do we get better at doing what we do so that we can capture more of what's already there, what we've already paid for, those guests that have made it there. And so for me, always trying to figure out a better way to do something. And when we talked about utilizing Podium, I had some experience with Podium from when I worked at Bob's. We didn't use it to the extent that we do here. And the vision for it wasn't the same there. For there, it was really more of a communication tool, but I knew the potential of it. And so I actually asked to take Podium because I wanted to make sure that we were going to utilize it at its full capacity and really maximize the ways that could impact the business for us. And I felt privileged that I was trusted enough to be part of that project. And so got to go visit our friends in Wellsville and learn a little bit more about how they were using it. And then got to pilot it in the South for a little bit of time before we rolled it out to the rest of the company, and really got to have a lot of influence and input on kind of what we're using it for and the way that we're using it. And so to continue to have that today and fall under, my responsibility, my area, we all have, every regional has their own area of influence or impact or whatever that we all own some portion of. Chris writes, it's secret sale private event. Chris Barrier, it's about sleep. And so for me, mine is prospecting and now Podium. But it's transformational for some of our HFCs. It has really done incredible things for their business. And I think it's been part of what has impacted our business in the South in such a positive way and created that consistency. But it gives people power. Like, why do you want to sit and wait for a guest to walk through the front door in order to know you're going to make money today when we have this tool that you can utilize that drives that traffic through the door and creates additional opportunities for you. And so it's a phenomenal tool, and we got a lot more work to do on it,
and we're just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in the process of transforming the way we do sales into the future. And we have this phrase, that's been around for many, many years, but it's still applicable, even more applicable today. Live by the door.
Die by the door.
Live by the door, die by the door. Meaning you can't be passive, sit back on your feet and just live on the guests who come through the door. You got to kind of follow up and prospect and call your guest. And that is the differentiator in business today, because you go shop a lot of retailers and people don't follow up.
That's right.
They don't text, they don't call. But if someone gives you permission to do so, and we're in the clienteling business, or not the transactional but the relational business, it makes a difference.
100%.
And people will find psychological reasons in their emotional attached reasons in their mind. I want to go do business with Dana.
That's right.
Yeah, she really cares about. She's following up with me. She's intentional. That matters to people in our busy lives, busy worlds. Okay, that's Podium.
Yeah, and it's another reason why I'm so excited to do Retail 101 classes, is because I think we have a responsibility to help people create a vision for themselves for what they want to accomplish and to show them the path for how to get there. And so to make sure that everybody understands the value and the potential, we do some math in that class to teach people that there's two kinds of salespeople, right? You have the ones that live by the door, die by the door, and they'll sit all day long and wait for their next guest to to be able to interact with, and maybe they make money that day and maybe they don't. And then you have the person, and in their downtime, they're doing all sorts of other things that isn't guest related, right? And then you have the person that's sitting next to them that has the same number of opportunities that come through the door, but they spend their time following up with guests that they've already worked with, somebody they already spoke to. Sometimes it's people that have purchased, sometimes it's people that haven't. But continuing to build those relationships, both of those people are working the exact same amount of time, the exact same number of hours. But what's happening for the person that's spending their time developing those relationships is business is showing up at times when they didn't expect it. Somebody will reach out through Podium and say, hey, do you have this, or are you running a sale? And so it isn't even always that the effort is outbound. Sometimes it's just creating that open line of communication and that rapport that the guest feels comfortable to reach back out to you whenever they have a need. And so helping people understand that you don't have to work 7 days a week. You don't have to work 12 or 14-hour days to get it done. You just have to be really effective and efficient with what you're spending your time doing. And Podium gives people a vehicle to make themselves more productive than anything we've had in the past.
And gives us a way to really measure it. And once we measure it, we can then kind of understand the opportunity. But it's really this, you go to work. It's the quality of the work in our work, not the quantity of work in our work, right? We're not feeling just dead time. Are you there to work? Are you focused? Are you locked in? Because you go to work. And let's don't waste each other's time. Yep. So how are we feeling that time? Okay, I just got a couple more topics here. Sure. And there's so much gold here to mine. And I don't want to leave anything out. But, okay, just building off of this, what were your standout memories from 2025? It was a big year. We had our Pioneering the Path, a Purpose 828 experience. We had our soiree. We had the Pioneer Promise RX that we had in July. Our Moneyball months, grand reopenings. But what were your standout memories and your best memories from 2025?
Gosh, a lot of those were certainly the biggest on my list has to be the year of performance that we had in the South. I've always said that depending on your store mix, Augusta always represented a large part of my business from a volume perspective. And so there were months that we won solely because Augusta was weighted so heavily versus the rest of my stores. They may have had a really great month and it got the region over, but I still had 4 other stores that didn't win. And so for me, winning isn't when the region hits budget. Winning for me is how many of my stores have contributed to that, how many of my people on my team also won. And so that really is the biggest standout moment for me for last year, is the consistency with which more of my stores were winning, and people elevating themselves and getting elevated. The number of experts that we produced, the number of $1 million riders that we produced, all of those things, because at the end of the day, while it's great for us as a company and it looks great when you're looking at it from a numbers perspective, for us, we also know that translates into money and salary and compensation, and what that does for people outside of work and how they're able to, we say live their A+ life, but, being able to pay their bills and not have to stress about whether or not they're going to have money to make their car payment or keep the lights on, or they can afford to do extracurricular activities for their kids and get them into sports and, whatever things. So it's really about knowing that our success translates into people living happy and fulfilled lives outside of work, which is really the most important thing for me. And we grew a lot of people. We made some leadership changes and some internal promotions. Brandon Nichols took over as a sales manager in Columbia Bloodline and has done a phenomenal job, has been a great addition to that team. And Brandon Munoz in that store has really grown in his leadership skills. We've got new leaders in East Columbia Outlet, Devin, who was new to the company, never even sold furniture before, and has been absolutely crushing it. He's been phenomenal. So just a lot of growth for us as a team.
You know what I like? I asked you about your favorite memories, and you just naturally gravitated towards talking about people. So that's what just happened there. A lot of great memories, a lot of great performance. How many $1 million memory makers or experts did you guys have last year? Do you recall?
Gosh, I don't. I'm so bad at that. Okay. I never.
A lot of jackpot bonuses though.
I could name all their names, but I couldn't tell you number wise off the top of my head. What I can tell you is that it is more than the South has ever seen before, and it's a testament to my leaders and how much they love their people and how much they're willing to pour into their people and just caring about other people achieving their goals and getting to where they want to go and it not just being about themselves.
Yeah, I'm sure you get a lot of phone calls from aspiring female leaders, maybe within our company, externally from our company. What advice would you give to a female leader who maybe early in their career, young in their career, and wants to emulate some of your success, or who you're a role model to, or maybe a mentor to?
Probably what I would say is know yourself, like really know yourself, and don't be afraid to acknowledge the parts of you that you know are not things that you're great at or that you're proud of or whatever. I think leading with authenticity and letting people see you for who you are carries a lot of weight, and it builds trust and it builds community and all of those things. And I don't think that, like for me, that's everything. And being able to depend on the people around you and have them be able to depend on you is important. So I think, know yourself, learn what you're great at, but also learn what you're not great at, and embrace both of those things. Because if you want to pretend like they don't exist, then you have no shot at getting better at those things. And the second thing I would say is, lead with the parts of yourself that make you a female leader. Not a stereotype, but the nurturing, maternal, the biological parts of you that make you a woman, those translate into leadership incredibly well. And so don't feel like you have to be less of that in order to be great at being a leader, because you can still be strong and you can still be powerful and you can still be influential and all of those things, and do it in a way that is soft and kind.
True to who you are.
True to who you are, exactly. And so be unapologetically yourself.
That's great advice for anyone, really.
Yeah.
Okay, looking ahead. Now, you said something at the gala. You said, but we're not done yet.
That's right.
Now, you were talking then about the Savage South, but now that has grown a little bit.
It has.
You've been freshly promoted.
Yeah.
From district manager to regional manager. Now you're taking on our brand new adventure in northern New England.
So exciting.
Yeah, in South Portland, Maine.
Yep.
And you've taken on the E-Team,
yep.
which really is our team that transacts with like web chats and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So looking ahead to 2026 and the expansion and your new responsibilities, what do we have to look forward to?
Great things. So it is our intention to keep doing what we've been doing. Where our conversation started about the ups and downs and the consistency, we're going to continue to do what we do and figure out solutions. How do we get better at what we're doing? And now we have more people to join us in those conversations and to get, different leaders' opinions and thoughts on things. I'm super excited about what's happening up in Maine right now. We've got our entire team hired, and they're up there training as we speak, because we open at the end of May, and it's going to be an exciting time. James Interante is our GM there. And
you knew James beforehand.
I did. I recruited him to come for us.
Yeah, that's great. And he came down and has been doing a stint in Columbia.
Yeah, training with my team.
Yeah.
Very, very much a part of our team, and didn't know at that point that Maine would become part of the South. Who would have thought?
Right. You were just doing your job.
Yeah, and we loved James, and he very much integrated into my team and became part of that, and so it's really exciting that I get to keep them, because I was hopeful that would be what the case was.
Well, this episode drops on the 19th, and the store will open on the 22nd.
Yeah.
And how's that store going to do?
It is going to do phenomenal. That is an incredible market.
The main event.
The main event, yes, already has his identity, and James's personality fits so well into who we are as a company, and all the people he's brought a lot of people with him that trust him and love him and believe in him, and for me that speaks volumes. Anytime that you can get people trust you enough to follow you, that's a big deal.
Followership,
big deal, and people that have been successful doing what they're doing in other places. So I think that speaks volumes about who he is, and just the chemistry of that team is incredible. And
awesome.
So they're going to do phenomenal. I can't wait.
Can't wait.
Cannot wait.
Okay.
And then the E-Team this is new for me, right? This is I don't know anything about how to transact that way. So I'm looking to Cece to teach me a lot about what they do. She's done
CC's our GM of the
yep.
ATM.
And she's done a great job. And so, just like any other part of my team, I'm here to help and support and, learn how people do what they do and figure out if there's something that I can do to make that better or easier or whatever that is, whatever that looks like for that person. So I'm excited to get to work with Cece and learn more about the E-team and maybe try to innovate there too.
Well, you said keyword there twice, learn, and then you said another keyword, innovate, which you've talked about. And fertile soil, New England, Maine, and the E-team virtual sales, fertile soil for you to continue digging in and learning more. And so, Dana, what is your word of the year this year, in our year to forge forward?
It is personal mastery.
Personal mastery. Okay.
Yes.
Dana, is there anything that you wanted to say that I haven't asked you or that you haven't said yet?
I don't think so. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to do this. Not a normal setting for me, and not where I'm my most comfortable, but certainly appreciate having this conversation with you. It has been, I can't believe it's been 3.5 years since I've been here. Some days it feels like it's been forever, and other days it feels like I just got here. Mm-hmm. By far the greatest experience of my career. And
That's awesome.
So I don't imagine myself leaving, and unless of course one of you decides that you want me to go.
That's not something I'm visioning or imagining either.
So much growth and opportunity, and I'm just excited to be part of all of that.
You might say we're just getting started.
We are.
You might say the future is bright. The best is yet to come. Well, you've done a phenomenal job. It's been a joy to have you in the company. I'm so proud of the results that you guys have achieved and really happy for you and for the team. I mean, they needed that, they deserved it, and now they've embraced it and they have owned it. And so kudos to you, kudos to your leadership. There's so much to learn here. Hope folks go back and listen to this episode a few times and then reach out. I'm sure you'll get some calls and emails and reach out, and I'm sure you'll take those calls and continue to mentor and share and give freely and willingly of your knowledge. Any advice you'd say to someone who's thinking about joining Broad River?
Do it.
Do it. All right, Dana, I got something for you. I got you a little gift here. So I got you a gift bag.
You.
Since you give gifts, this is what I got. I got you this from the High Point Market, and you'll appreciate this. There is a book of the freshly reprinted book of Wanakisms.
Oh, love it.
And,
okay.
A nice little The Love of Home notebook here.
Beautiful.
A beautiful new coffee mug.
Thank
you.
The
Love of Home. In retail, we always have to measure. That's an awesome tape
100%,
measure.
Yep.
And there's an umbrella in here.
Hey.
With a pen and a name placard. So
well, thank you.
That's for you.
I appreciate that.
And hey, look, I'm excited about Scout Motors coming to Blythewood.
Yeah, lots of new opportunity for us business there too.
Yeah, you talked about you used to have a home in Blythewood.
I did.
And I took my son Luke to their event they had last Monday, and that was. It was so cool. And so, yeah, we're excited to welcome them. Scouts always come back, and they always come back to Ashley. And so we'll welcome the team at Scout to any of our Ashley stores and make sure that we'll take great care
Absolutely.
of them. Hey, Dana, this has been a lot of fun. Thanks so much for joining us here on this episode of Stories from the River, the Dana Mallory episode, regional manager of the Savage South. And catch us on LinkedIn. You don't want to miss the hot content and the tapes that we're publishing there or any of your favorite platforms. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. To watch this episode, go to youtube.com/@storiesfromtheriver. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.